Level 1. The candidate. You don't apply to the Mossad. The Mossad finds you. There is no form on a government website. There is no job listing. There is no email you can send. The most secretive intelligence agency on the planet does not advertise. It watches. It waits. And one day, without warning, someone approaches you. Maybe it happens at university. A professor you respect asks you to stay after class. He speaks quietly. He says he knows people. He says he has noticed something in you. He asks if you have ever thought about serving your country in a way that most people never could. Maybe it happens at a military base. You're finishing your mandatory service in the IDF, and a man in civilian clothes pulls your file, watches you run an exercise, watches how you think under pressure, and decides you're worth a conversation. Maybe it happens at a dinner party, and a stranger sits next to you who knows far too much about your background to be a coincidence. This is how it begins. Israel is a country the size of New Jersey, surrounded by nations that have, at various points in its history, tried to erase it from the map. The Mossad, Ha-Mossad Lemodian Uletafkedim, Meyuhadim, the Institute for Intelligence and Special Operations, is the invisible shield that keeps that from happening. Founded in 1949, 1 year after the State of Israel came into existence, the Mossad has spent decades operating in a neighborhood where failure is not embarrassing. Failure is existential. You are Israeli. You speak Hebrew and at least 2 other languages. You completed your military service without a single disciplinary mark. Your psychological profile is clean. You are intelligent, but not arrogant. Calm, but not cold. You are the kind of person who walks into a room and nobody remembers you were there. You agree to a meeting. They tell you almost nothing at this stage. They watch how you handle that. Whether you push for information you haven't earned, whether you get nervous, whether you talk to anyone about what just happened. You don't. 3 weeks later, they contact you again. Level 2, the tested. The evaluation process takes months. It is designed to break you without telling you it is trying to break you. There are psychological tests, not the kind you sit in a room and fill out with a pencil. The kind where they put you in a social situation and watch how you perform without telling you it is a test. A man bumps into you on the street and drops something. It is not an accident. A woman at a cafe starts a conversation and slowly, casually, asks questions that edge towards sensitive territory. Your responses are being studied by someone who is not visible to you. Everything is a test. Every reaction, every instinct, every choice you make is being cataloged. There are physical assessments. They want to know what your body can do, but more than that, they want to know what your mind does when your body fails, when you are exhausted, when you are in pain. When you have been awake for 36 hours and someone is asking you to solve a problem that seems impossible, do you fold? Do you cheat? Do you get creative? Do you keep going? There are language tests and logic tests and moral dilemma scenarios that have no clean answer. They want to know where your line is, not because they will always stay on the right side of it, but because they need to know exactly where you will and will not break. The most important test is the interview. A senior assessor sits across from you for 4 hours. He is not friendly, but he is not hostile. He is something more unsettling than both. He is neutral. He listens to every word with the precision of someone who knows what you are about to say before you say it. He asks about your family, your relationships, your fears, your secrets, the things you did that you are not proud of. He is not judging you. He is mapping you, building a psychological architecture that the agency will use for the rest of your career. Roughly 1 in 50 candidates makes it through. You make it through. Level 3, the Kidon trainee. They send you to a facility that officially does not exist. Some call it the school. Some call it the pit. The location changes. The curriculum does not. You spend the first 3 months learning how to disappear. Not metaphorically. Literally. How to walk through an airport and leave no trace in the minds of anyone who sees you. How to change your gait, your posture, your energy. How to wear a different person's face without putting on a mask. You practice in real cities. Tel Aviv, London, Paris. Your instructors are playing the role of hostile surveillance teams, and their job is to catch you. You walk through markets and ride subways and sit in cafes while professionals try to find you. When they find you, you go back and do it again. You learn dead drops, physical locations where information is left without two people ever meeting. A chalk mark on a lamppost, a loose brick in a wall, a thumb drive taped under a park bench. You learn brush passes, the art of exchanging material with another person while walking in opposite directions without any observer being able to tell it happened. You learn to drive at speeds and angles that should not be possible in urban traffic. You learn to fight, not the way soldiers fight, the way someone fights when they have 30 seconds to neutralize a threat before a situation becomes irreversible. Krav Maga, yes, but also improvisation. What is in this room right now? What is in your hands? What is in their hands? How do you close the distance before they can use what they're holding? You learn to shoot, pistols primarily, because the Mossad is not an army. It does not take battlefields. It takes single, precise moments. And you learn tradecraft, the deep language of intelligence operations, the concepts that have evolved over decades of operations in environments where a single mistake meant a body in an unmarked grave or a diplomatic catastrophe that could accelerate a war. You graduate 18 months later. You are not yet a full officer, but you are something. You are something most people on the planet will never be. Level 4, the Katsa, case officer, the backbone of the Mossad. You receive your first posting. It might be Paris. It might be Buenos Aires. It might be Cairo, which is a different kind of posting altogether, a place where the risks arrive faster and the margin for error is smaller. You are operating undercover. Your cover is deep. You have a job at a company, a history, a life story that has been constructed with the kind of care that novelists envy. You are not an Israeli intelligence officer. You are whoever they built you to be. Your mission is to recruit assets, human sources, people who have access to information that Israel needs and who can be convinced through one means or another to provide it. You spend your first months building your social infrastructure. Your cover life generates real connections, business contacts, acquaintances, a network of relationships that gives you plausible reasons to be in the rooms you need to be in. Every conversation is a data point. You are always working, even at dinner, even on a Sunday afternoon, even when you are supposed to be relaxing. You are reading people, filing away details about who they are and what they want and what they are afraid of. Your first real target takes almost a year to develop. He is a defense contractor with access to procurement documents. He is lonely. His marriage is in trouble. He drinks too much at conferences. You become his friend slowly, carefully over the course of 8 months. You are genuinely kind to him. That is what makes you good at this, and what makes this work difficult to live with. The kindness is real, even when the relationship is not. You invite him to dinner. You remember his daughter's birthday. You listen to him talk about his problems with patience and attention that his actual friends never give him. He trusts you completely by the time you make your first real ask. He doesn't even realize it is an ask. It feels like a favor between friends. He says yes. You file your report. Your handler is pleased. You do this again and again for the next 3 years. Each recruitment is different. Each person has a different shape to their vulnerability. The Mossad teaches you that everyone can be recruited. The question is only the right approach and the right time. Level 5. The combatant. Not every Katsa operates under official cover. The most dangerous operational tier has a different name. Combatant. Mistaravim in some contexts. These are the officers who go so deep that there is no cover to hide behind if something goes wrong. You are assigned to operate inside an Arab country, not as a diplomat, not with any government protection, with a full legend, a constructed identity that includes a language you speak fluently, a religion you practice convincingly, a backstory that has been seeded across years of documentation and digital footprints. You are not undercover. You are gone. The person you were born as has temporarily ceased to exist. You live inside a city where if the wrong person suspects the wrong thing, you do not get expelled. You disappear. There are no headlines. There is no prisoner exchange negotiation. There is nothing. You run a network of local subsources, people who don't know who you are or who you work for, who believe you are what your legend says you are, and who provide you with fragments of information that you assemble into a picture and transmit through channels so indirect they would take a counterintelligence team months to trace. You live in this identity for 2 years. There is a moment, 6 months in, when you realize you have stopped translating. You dream in the language. You catch yourself thinking in the language. The person you were built to be is more present in your daily experience than the person you actually are. Your handler tells you this is a sign you are doing it right. You understand why some combatants never fully come back, not because something bad happened to them, because something very good happened to the person they became. Level 6. The Kaidan. Kaidan means bayonet. This is the unit they do not discuss. Even within the Mossad, most officers will never come near what the Kaidan does. It is the executive action arm, the blade at the end of the intelligence apparatus. When the state of Israel makes a decision that someone must be removed from the world, the Kaidan is the mechanism by which that decision is carried out. You do not end up here by applying. You end up here because someone has been watching you for years and determined that you have a specific combination of qualities that most human beings do not possess. Technical skill, yes, but more than that, the psychological architecture to make a decision that takes a human life and then return to the world of ordinary experience without being destroyed by it. The Kaidan operates under orders that come from the highest levels of Israeli government. The Prime Minister signs off. The Attorney General reviews the legal foundation. This is not a rogue operation. This is a state function that happens to look from the outside like something else entirely. The targets are specific: terrorist financiers, weapons designers working on programs aimed at Israel's destruction, the engineers of mass casualty events, the architects of networks that move money and materials toward catastrophe. These are not arbitrary choices. There are files. There are legal reviews. There is a process that is, by the standards of clandestine executive action, remarkably structured. Operations take months to plan. Surveillance packages, entry routes, exit strategies, contingencies for contingencies. Every variable you can model is modeled. Every variable you cannot model is accounted for with options. You carry out your first operation in a European city. You do not think about it the way civilians imagine you would. There is no dramatic moment. There is preparation, and then execution, and then extraction, and then debrief. The emotional processing happens later, privately, in the months that follow, in ways you never discuss with anyone. The State of Israel does not confirm or deny. You do not confirm or deny. It did not happen. It continues to not happen. Operation after operation, year after year. Level 7. The department head, you are 41 years old. You have been running operations for 15 years across 4 continents. You have recruited dozens of assets, some of whom are still operating, some of whom are dead, some of whom you do not know the fate of and never will. You have been inside countries where the discovery of your real identity would have meant your death. You have done things that cannot be undone. Now you sit behind a desk. You are a department head. You oversee a team of CATSOT and analysts and support personnel. The field is behind you now, mostly. Your job is architecture. You design operations. You approve them. You monitor them. When something goes wrong, and things go wrong, you make decisions in real time with incomplete information and consequences that outlast the operation itself. You are briefed every morning at 6. Your analysts have been up all night processing signals intelligence, human intelligence, satellite imagery, financial tracking data, and intercepts from communication networks across 12 countries. They give you the picture as it stands at this moment. The picture changes hourly. You manage relationships with other intelligence services, the CIA, MI6, the BND. The relationships are collaborative and competitive simultaneously. You share what serves Israeli interests. You withhold what does not. Everyone at this level understands that the relationship is transactional. The alliance is real. The friendship is professional. You also manage relationships with political leadership. The Prime Minister's office wants results. They want them fast. They sometimes want things that the operational reality makes impossible. And your job is to explain this without being dismissed as someone who has lost their edge. The tension between political need and intelligence reality is permanent at this level. It never resolves. You simply learn to manage it. Your marriage has survived, which puts you in a minority. Your children are teenagers who understand that their father does something for the government and nothing more. The younger one asked you once if you were a spy. You laughed. You said you were an analyst. He looked at you with the specific expression of a child who knows you are lying and has decided not to pursue it. You go home. You eat dinner. You look at your family across the table, and somewhere in the back of your mind, the operations are still running. Level 8. The Station Chief, Rosh Tachana, the senior Mossad officer in a foreign country. You are running everything. The Katsot under your command. The asset network they maintain. The relationships with the local intelligence service, which in this particular posting is complicated because the local intelligence service has officers who are also running operations against Israel, and both of you know it. And some of the meetings between your services contain this mutual awareness like a gas that is present in the room but never acknowledged. You coordinate with Israeli diplomatic personnel who know what you are and what you do, but maintain the fiction that you are something else. The ambassador is briefed on operations at a level that gives him the information he needs without the details that would require him to take a position on things he would rather not know about. You manage a crisis every 3 weeks on average. An asset goes silent, an operation is blown. Not completely, but enough that you need to extract someone and reset the network. A communication is intercepted by the host country's counterintelligence service, and you spend 72 hours determining how much they know and whether you need to go to emergency protocols. A local subsource is arrested on an unrelated charge, and you need to determine whether they will hold under questioning or whether their arrest was the unrelated thing it appears to be. You sleep in 4-hour blocks. You have learned to do this. The first years in the field, you needed 7 hours. Now 4 is enough. Your body has adapted to the operational tempo, the way a long-distance runner's body adapts to distance. It is simply what you do. Level 9, the Deputy Director. You are back in Israel, Tel Aviv, the anonymous building whose address appears in no directory. You are now one of the most powerful intelligence officers on the planet, and approximately nobody outside this building knows your name. The Deputy Director position carries operational oversight of every Mossad activity worldwide. You are the architecture itself now, not designing individual operations, but shaping the strategic logic that determines what kinds of operations get run, against which targets, in which environments, with what resources. You brief the cabinet. You sit in rooms with the Prime Minister and the Defense Minister and the head of Shin Bet and the Director of Military Intelligence, and you give them a picture of the world that has been assembled from thousands of sources across years of work. The picture is never complete. Intelligence is never complete, but it is the best picture available. And the decisions made in those rooms, decisions about military readiness, about diplomatic positioning, about preemptive action, are made on the basis of that picture. You carry this weight carefully. You have seen what happens when intelligence fails. You were a young officer when an operation that should have been clean became a catastrophe. You remember studying historical failures in training, the intelligence that missed things it should not have missed, the operations that became scandals, the moments when the machine that is supposed to protect a nation became the thing that threatened it. You think about this every morning. You think about what you know and what you might be wrong about. You think about the assets whose information you trust and whether you should. You think about the analysts who brief you and whether the picture they are showing you is the picture they actually believe or the picture they think you want to see. You carry the intelligence with appropriate uncertainty. You present it with the confidence that decision makers need. The gap between those two things is where you live now. Level 10. The ghost. You retire at 58. The ceremony is small. It is always small. 6 people in a room in the building on the street with no sign. The director says things about service and sacrifice that are true and that you appreciate and that feel inadequate and that you know are all that is possible. There is no medal you can display. There is no citation you can frame. There is no record in any archive that a civilian could ever access that accurately describes what you did for the state of Israel over the course of the last 30 years. You sign papers. You are reminded, as you are reminded every year, that the classification of everything you know, everything you did, everything you saw is permanent and total. You will not write a memoir. You will not give an interview. You will not, at a dinner party, tell a story that begins with something that sounds like it might be something. The secrets go with you. You move to a small house, perhaps in the north, near the water, perhaps in Jerusalem. You garden, you read, you cook, you sleep in for the first time in 3 decades and find that you cannot. Your body wakes you at 5, regardless of what you tell it. You know things that the Prime Minister knows, things that will not appear in history books for 50 years, if ever. Things about what happened to certain people in certain cities on certain nights. Things about what was prevented. Things about what was not. The operations that succeeded. The ones that failed in ways that cost lives you still think about. You are not a war criminal, and you are not a hero, and you are not a villain, and you are not a victim. You are a man or a woman who spent a career inside the machinery of a state's survival and did what the state needed done at the level of skill and devotion that the state required. You sit on your porch in the morning. The light comes over the hills the way it does in this country, clean and gold and ancient. Children somewhere nearby are playing. The country exists. The country continues to exist. Some portion of that continuation has to do with decisions you made in rooms that no longer exist, in cities where you no longer exist, at moments that officially never happened. You drink your coffee. You watch the light move. Somewhere in Israel, right now, a young person is being approached. Maybe at university, maybe at a dinner, maybe after a military exercise that went unusually well. A stranger asks if they've ever thought about serving their country in a way that most people never could. They feel something, a pull, an excitement they can't fully name. They say yes, and the machinery begins to move, quietly, invisibly, the way it has been moving since 1949. They have no idea what they are saying yes to. They never do. They learn.